You've done hours of research, read guidebooks, watched travel vlogs, and you're finally ready to start planning your trip. But there's so much to do and you're only there for 6 days on your vacation. We're gonna have to work hard to make it the best trip ever in Let's Go to Japan, which was designed by Josh Wood and published by AEG, who helped sponsor this video. Hi everybody, my name is Nick Murphy of the Brothers Murph, and we are here with Board Game Geek. Well, I think I've finally finished researching, so let's get this game down to the table to learn how to play Let's Go to Japan. In Let's Go to Japan, players will be planning an amazing trip to the beautiful and culturally rich cities of Tokyo and Kyoto. Every round, players will be gaining cards with activities from these cities, and they'll be playing them on different days of the week. The game will end after 13 rounds, and then players will have to go on their meticulously planned trip and score each day. Before we get into all that, let's go over the setup.
Each player takes a player board and 6 of the favorable condition tokens and places them in front of them. One player will shuffle up their favorable condition tokens and randomly place 1 on each day of the week, and then all other players will match by putting the same tokens in the same places. Take the mood tracker token in your color and place it in the center space of the mood track here. Then place a stress marker on the leftmost space of the stress track here, and a happiness tracker on the leftmost space on the happiness track here. Each player takes 5 experience tokens and places them on the 0 space here on their board. Finally, all players take a starting train token. Shuffle the 80 Tokyo activity cards and the 80 Kyoto activity cards separately and place them in a place where all players can reach them. Place the round tracker board in the center of the table and place the round tracker marker on the leftmost space over the icons. Lastly, place the wild tokens, the research tokens, the train tokens, the walk tokens, and the plus 12 tokens in a general supply all players can reach. And now we're ready to begin. In Let's Go to Japan, you are trying to score the most points, but a big part of the game is the storytelling aspect of the game. You are planning out an amazing trip, and as you are putting these cards in these various days, make sure to be thinking about the story that you're going to tell at the end of the game. As stated, players will be planning out their amazing trip to Japan, and they'll be doing so by scheduling activities and playing them on certain days. There are a number of different things a player can see, like temples and shrines, try the food and drinks, see nature and gardens, go shopping, or have a unique experience. And these will be taking place in Tokyo, which is blue, or Kyoto, which is pink. Yellow cards are more generic experiences, and the player may choose whether they take place in Tokyo or Kyoto. There are 13 rounds in the game, and each round will have 3 phases. First, all players will draw cards, and then they will play and pass cards, and then the end of round happens. How many cards players draw, play, and pass depends on which round it is, and it's shown on the round board. In the first 4 rounds, players will draw 1 card from the Tokyo deck and then 1 card from the Kyoto deck. In these first 4 rounds, players will play 1 of those cards to their itinerary and then pass the remaining card to the left to this spot on their opponent's board. This card must be placed here face down, and the receiving player may not look at it. And note that you do not need to play cards in Monday first. You can play cards in any day that you want. In round 5, players will draw the 4 cards from that space, and now in rounds 5 through 9, we're playing 2 cards and passing 2. In round 6, players will draw 2 cards from Tokyo and 2 from Kyoto. In round 7, you'll pick up the cards from your player board again. In round 8, players will draw cards from the city decks, and this circle means that now, for the rest of the game, players are passing to their right. In rounds 10 through 13, we're back to playing 1 card and passing 1 card. The 13th round says that you'll pick up the 1 card that's face down on your board, and then you may either draw a Tokyo card or a Kyoto card. At the end of every play and pass phase, all players should have no cards in their hands. And these numbers here show you how many cards should be in your face down deck when you pick them up. After a player draws the cards indicated on the round board, if they have a research token, they may turn it in to draw 3 extra cards. These extra cards may be from the Tokyo or Kyoto deck in any combination. The player must immediately discard any 3 cards from their hand, and then they will play and pass their cards normally. If you have more than 1 research token, you may use another one as long as you have completely finished drawing and discarding from the first token used. Once all players have drawn their cards, they will then play either 1 or 2 of their cards depending on the round to their itinerary. This part of the game may be done simultaneously. Your itinerary is broken down in days, Monday through Saturday, and each day may have a maximum of 3 activity cards in it. When you place a card in a day, if it has no cards, it will simply go to that day slot. If there's already 1 card there, you may place it behind that card, making sure that the top is showing, or you may place it in front of that card, keeping the top of the back card showing. If there are 2 cards already there, you may place it in the very back, in the middle of the 2, or in the very front. Where you place the cards is important. The tops of the 3 cards will always activate, and they will mostly move your experience and move markers, and they will give you some points. Note that you do not move these things when you play the cards. All of these cards will activate only at the end of the game when you go on your trip. Right now, we're merely planning the trip, so do not move them yet. This is very important. So at the end of the game, all the tops of the cards will activate, but only the bottom of the front card will activate. This is called the highlight of the day, and we'll talk about how you score these when we go on our trip at the end of the game. If you don't like the cards in your hand, you can choose to keep your schedule open for that day and just go on a walk. When you do this, you will discard one card from your hand to the discard pile and then draw one card from either the Tokyo or Kyoto deck and place it face down in your itinerary following the normal placement rules. Note that you do not get to look at the card. You will flip it face up when we go on our trip at the end of the game, and then you'll decide to go on the activity on the other side or keep it face down. When you place a card in this way, you will also gain a research token as shown on the card, but don't activate the top of the card and move your mood yet. Now, many of the reasons for why you want to place certain cards in certain spots will be more clear when we talk about going on our trip, but during the game, you will gain day bonuses when you place your third card in a day slot. When you place your third card there, you will gain a day bonus. Which bonus you get to choose depends on how many icons are matching the favorable condition token for that day. So in this case, the favorable condition is food and drink, and we have 2 food and drink icons on that day. Maybe there's a food festival in town that day. If you match 1 icon, you will get to move your mood tracker 1 space to the right. If you match 2, you may take 2 research tokens, or you may gain a wild experience marker, or you may move your mood tracker 1 space to the right. If you match 3 or more, you can do any of the bonuses already mentioned, or you can gain a luxury train token to your supply, or you may go for an extra walk. If you go for an extra walk, you will add a face down card from either city deck to that day, though you do not gain the research token. Note that this is the only way to put 4 cards on a single day. And also note that this extra walk card can go on any day. Once you have played the cards that you need to play this round, you will pass the cards either to the left or to the right depending on the round, and then the round will end. A reminder that at the end of the round, all players should have no cards in their hands. The round marker will move to the next space and play will continue. At the end of the 13th day, the game will end. We've finished planning and it's time to go on our trip and see how well we planned. At the end of the 13th round, you will have a completely full trip with each day having at least 3 activities. Players will now score their trips. But quickly, before we do, we need to talk about travel. You are doing things in Tokyo and Kyoto, but you have to get to each city by train. Every time you switch cities in your itinerary, you have to place a train token in between the cards to show that you had to travel. You start the game with a starting train token, which doesn't have any positives or negatives. You may have gotten some luxury train tokens during the game, and for all other trains that you have to place normal trains. Before you begin scoring your itinerary, you have to place all of the necessary train tokens. Your luxury trains will gain you 2 points and move your mood to the right when you activate them, whereas normal trains will lose you 2 points. Having to go back and forth a ton isn't very efficient planning. You may place any of these 3 types of train tokens in any order you want. For example, you don't have to place your starting train token as your first train. Note that if you change cities in between days, like from Tuesday to Wednesday here, you still have to place a train token, and you'll place it above the card on the next day. Remember that yellow cards can be in either city, so you don't need to place a train token when you have a yellow card like this. Once you have placed all of the necessary train tokens, you will start to score your trip. You will start on Monday and activate the top card, and then the next card, and then the front card. You will activate the tops of all 3 cards, but only the highlight of the day on the bottom of the front card. The tops of the cards will show points that will be scored, but will also show experiences and mood movements. Whenever you see an experience symbol, you will move that experience token up on your track. In this case, the card moves our shrines and temples tokens up twice. Some activities may cause your mood to change as well. The green arrow moves your mood up, and the red arrow will move your mood down. Note that there are 2 arrows of each color. They both function in the same way in terms of moving your mood, but other cards may reference a specific mood shift. The shift with a yen symbol means something was expensive, hence the mood shift down, or cheap, hence the mood shift up. Or if it has a lightning bolt, that activity was strenuous, mood shift down, or relaxing, mood shift up. Whenever your mood hits the last spot on the right, you will move your happiness marker up 1 and then move your mood tracker back to the middle. Whenever it hits the last spot on the left, you will move your stress marker up and then move it back to the middle. At the end of the game, stress will lose you points and happiness will gain you points. When you come across a walk card that is face down, you will flip the card face up and decide whether you want to score it as an activity and place it back in the same space face up, or you can place it back face down. If you place it face up, you will then activate it normally, but you must place a walk token on it to signify that it was a walk card. This may matter for highlight of the day scoring. If you leave it face down, it will be worth 1 point and it will move your mood. Going for a walk is always nice. If it's face down and it's the front card, it will give you an extra 2 points as the highlight of the day. Note that if you choose to keep the card face up and the card is yellow, the city that card is in is the city on the back of the card. You don't get to choose how you normally would. So the tops of the cards will gain you points, move your mood, and move your experience markers. The highlight of the day, the bottom of the frontmost card, will score you extra points. Each highlight of the day will have a requirement on it, and you must meet that requirement if you want to gain the extra points. Note that the highlight of the day requirements only count symbols and experiences from itself and cards that came before it on the same day or days previous. It never ever counts symbols on cards from days in the future, as you haven't experienced those days yet. So this highlight of the day card requires you to have 2 nature and garden experience symbols, and only these ones are valid. These are not because they haven't happened yet. Another good way to know if you have the experience symbols you need is just to look at where they are on your experience track when you're scoring that highlight of the day card. Now let's talk about some of these highlights. Many of them will just give you points plus maybe some other points for symbols. So this highlight of the day card is enjoying the tranquility. You must have 2 nature and garden symbols, and that will gain you 3 points plus 1 more for every shrine and temple icon you have. Again, a reminder that you're only counting symbols from this card or cards that came before it. If something is in brackets, you will gain points for having sets. In this case, for having expensive icons and food and drink icons. If a highlight requires mood, you will look back through your cards and find the mood change symbols to meet this requirement. You will not look at where your mood is at the moment of scoring that card. You only care about mood symbols activated up to this point. Some highlights score for walk icons. This is why it's important to place a walk token on a walk card you turn face up. Some cards will score train tokens, and you will look back through the trains you have taken up to that point. Quickly in regards to trains, whenever you come across a luxury train when you are activating your cards, make sure to move your mood tracker up. If a requirement has an X through it, you must have none of that symbol up till that point. Lastly, if a card shows a city, you will score points for every day you spent in that city, in this case Tokyo. Throughout the game, you may have gotten some wild experience markers. At any time during the scoring round, you may turn in a wild to move an experience token up of your choice. Okay, so that's all the things that may be on your card. You're going to go through the cards of Monday, scoring the tops of all 3 and the highlight of the day at the bottom of the card, and you will note this score on the score pad under Monday. Then you will move to Tuesday and do the same. Continue with this all the way up through Saturday. After you have scored all of your days, you will look at your stress and happiness scores. For example, if you had 12 points from happiness and -8 from stress, you will end up with 4 points. Next, you will score points for where your experience markers are on your track. Each token gains you the highest points that it has passed. Now you will score points for your trains. Your luxury trains will give you 2 points and your regular trains will lose you 2 points. Lastly, every research token you didn't use will score you 1 point. Add up your scores and the player with the most points planned the best trip and is the winner. If there's a tie, you all had amazing trips and the tied players share the victory. And that is how you play Let's Go to Japan.
Let's Go to Japan is, unsurprisingly, all about planning ahead. I mean, that's literally the point of the game, is you're planning out an awesome vacation. You have to constantly be paying attention to what cards you're placing on what days, and you especially have to be paying attention to what you need to have in your itinerary to score your highlight of the day cards as best as you possibly can. And if Let's Go to Japan seems like a game you'd enjoy, make sure to check it out to learn more. And until next time, I'm Nick Murphy, and that is how you play Let's Go to Japan. Have a great day.